used in construction here in Japan, and if it's good for the environment or not. I have a little bit of a slideshow made up here. Let's go back to the beginning. Environment in Japan, copious amounts of concrete. The reason I wanted to do this was because of this picture, actually. Can I share a picture now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this picture here below the first slide on the slideshow that I took 2 weeks ago on a beautiful Thursday in Mount Aso. This is the new Aso Ohashi, right? That was reconstructed after the 2016 earthquakes, right? I received a few comments about this on Facebook, on my Facebook post, right? A lot of people were impressed with the view. Of course, it's a beautiful view. We've got a new bridge here. We've got a gorge. It's really fantastic. It is a great bridge. It's very high, a little bit scary. One friend of mine, JM, who used to live in Kumamoto, Jean-Marc, who now lives in Okinawa, commented that the amount of concrete they used in this was just outstanding. It's just amazing. It's just insane, he says. The amount of concrete they used all over also after the disaster is insane. Very little care and thought went into the conservation of the landscape and the overall harmony. I wonder what you think about that, Dan. This isn't a very good picture. I mean, there's a lot of concrete here. If you actually go to the location, you can see an incredible amount of concrete used. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things that, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Alex Kerr's books, especially the one Dogs and Demons.
Yes, I am indeed. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he talked about that, a lot of the causes, both, economically and culturally related to, the over construction that has been going on in Japan. Right. And just a ridiculously, overuse of concrete and building for the sake of building, more or less, Yeah. It really is a problem.
Right, it is a problem, and I mean, I know they're probably expecting grass to grow on there or greenery to grow eventually on there, but you know what? That takes years for that to happen, right? So yeah. I think they try to incorporate concrete into nature, into natural areas. And in some cases it works slightly. You can tell in some areas in Japan, in Aso, where they've already done that.
Yeah, I haven't noticed so much around here. I haven't been to the sites, I guess, but I remember back in Niigata when they were building the new campus there at the school that I was teaching at, and they were cutting into the hillside and so on. And what they did, they cut through the hillside. Well, of course that's cutting through the hillside, so rocks and there was some dirt there also, but very rocky area that they were cutting through, and then they put like not exactly chicken wire, but something like chicken wire over that, and then they sprayed that with something that was like a combination of almost like a paper mache mixture, and mixed up in that paper mache mixture were grass seeds. And so the grass started sprouting out from that. So it kind of gave it a head start, which I thought was a really interesting thing. I'd never seen quite that technique used in America, but I saw it a few times.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I think they are thinking of it. I mean, I think they try to kind of incorporate the two, and they're thinking of other ways to kind of, shore up the hillsides. I mean, this is where the earthquake happened. And the previous Ohashi was just to the right of this new Ohashi that you're seeing in the screen, right? And that whole hill just collapsed, right? And took down that other bridge, unbelievably, right? I never thought that would happen, but it did. And right, I mean, the next day, I think we were all looking at our cell phones, right? I was looking at my cell phone with this overhead picture of the Ohashi, saying, no, that can't be the Ohashi. No, that's some little bridge somewhere. That can't be Ohashi, I was thinking, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but it was.
Yeah, it had changed so dramatically. I didn't recognize. I mean, it's right there next to the school I was teaching at, right? And I really couldn't recognize it. It was just so dramatically different than it had been just the day before.
Right, and I taught at that school too,
Right.
that you were teaching at for 3 years. I happened to have left before the earthquake, but I remember that all too well. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Well,
And so, in order to fix it up and to shore up the sides, they decided to use a whole slew of concrete. And if you go up there, they've shaped it to the mountainside. Yeah, they've
right.
shaped it to the contour of the earth. I guess the best they can. Now, whether that's going to kind of blend in and look like the rest of the natural environment, that's to see.
Yeah.
Only time will tell about that. But
Mhm.
now there is a lot of concrete up there, right? Yeah, this is the same picture in this slide right here. Same picture. It's the new Ohashi, right?
Right.
Japan does rely on concrete for structural support of natural areas quite a bit. Yeah. Even in around Fukushima, the Fukushima area, right? Sendai area.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've used a lot of concrete after the tsunami. Yes. And so now we're looking at down here in Kumamoto after our earthquakes. There's a lot of areas that are just being revamped now and just opening up after those 2016 earthquakes. Have you seen anything happening in Kumamoto City, Dan?
Hey, Abyss.
With
In
yeah, hey
Kumamoto
Abyss.
City, environmentally speaking.
Yes, environmentally, like for example, using concrete for structuring or shoring up
Well, I mean, you do face
natural
it.
areas. I mean,
Yeah,
downtown. I'm talking.
yeah, so when they redid the what was it, the Kokaibashi,
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, there was, I mean, there was concrete there before from the old bridge, but they seemed to even expand on that. I mean, along the rivers, along the riverbanks, the riverside, they have a lot of the area is covered with concrete, and then they wonder why there's this flooding all the time, right?
Well,
It's
that's
really,
right. Exactly, right. Exactly. They wonder why there's flooding, right? They're making it smoother, right?
yeah,
And water has nowhere to go, and it
exactly,
goes over the top, right? Yeah, I
exactly.
happen to live near Kumamoto Station, which is near Shirakawa River, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And they're always working on that.
Hmm.
They're always doing something on that. They're either kind of extending the shoreline, or they're shoring it up, or they're kind of making kind of concrete walls and concrete areas, right? And I'm not so sure if it's good for the environment. Have you ever read anything on that?
Um, most I haven't read a lot, no, but most of what I read, I mean, doesn't seem to to think that it's such a good idea. You're familiar, and maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with those big. What are they? Tetrapods or
Yeah,
whatever? Those big.
tetrapod. I'm gonna yeah, right. I'm gonna get to that actually.
Okay. Right.
Right here, I have a couple slides on that. Right, tetrapods. Right, which are these
Right.
big. Oops, sorry. Which are these big jacks? I like to refer to them. They look
Right.
like huge concrete jacks. Right,
Yep.
they're just on the coastlines everywhere. Right. I was kind of shocked when I came to Japan and saw those for the first time.
Oh,
Thought,
absolutely.
gosh,
Me too.
right? It was quite shocking, right? And I mean, why was my first question, right?
Hmm.
Because it just takes a lot of the view out of it, just a lot of the natural beauty just clean away. It's just gone, right?
Well,
Uh,
the argument is supposed to be that they do that in order to protect the shoreline, but the research has shown that just the opposite is true.
yeah, that's what I thought. Now I haven't read much on that. I'm going to from now.
Mm,
But yeah, I was just wondering about that, right?
mm,
How much effect it does have on the coastline, and not only the coastline, nature itself,
mhm.
microorganisms, fish, marine environment, right? The marine habitat and the ecosystem of the ocean. It has to affect it, I would imagine, right?
Well, I mean that
'Cause-
the thinking was when they made those things, the irregular shape and the way they don't. I mean, the way they kind of fit together, but there are lots of gaps, between them. The thinking was that it would provide extra habitat for sea life. That small crustaceans and small fish would be able, would be able to use that as kind of protection from the open water and so on. That it would actually increase the shoreline sea life, but I don't recall whether that's the case or not. But that was one argument that it was okay, and the other argument, like I said, the main purpose was to protect the shoreline. But I think even Alex Kerr in his book talks about the tetrapods, and I think his was the one article that I read that said that it was actually doing more damage than it was protection.
Yeah, yes, I've read about that too. There's an English teacher who's written a lot of books and done a lot of studying about the environment. Kip Cates, I believe his name is. Have you ever come across him? He's done a lot of work with English teaching and the environment here in Japan.
Yeah. I've heard the name, but I don't think I've read anything by him. No.
Yeah, he's done a lot of writing, and he's done some textbooks as well. So I'm aware of him through Michael Furmanovsky, actually, and I'd like to catch up on his work as well. Haven't really done much reading on him either. But yeah, I mean, these tetrapods, I think they're not sustainable, actually, right? Would you say they're sustainable? I mean, they're sustainable as in they'll last through the next ice age, but they're just really, I think, not good for the environment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, they don't seem to be actually very good at the purpose that they were built and put in place for. And it's questionable if exactly rather exactly what the environmental benefit, if any, there is to them. So sustainable, I mean, yeah, they're kind of a one time, you make them, put them in place, and you don't do anything with them from there on, and that's so that's okay. That aspect of it is okay. But yeah, if they're not doing what the purpose was, and they're not necessarily doing anything good, maybe not be a good idea. But it would be so expensive to try and remove them all now. That would, I don't see that happening either.
Right. And here's another picture I just put up here of another style of tetrapod on this huge peninsula type wall here, right? Which you can see this style also a lot in Japan, right? Amakusa has a lot of these as well. Yeah, I think as you just said, it's right. Yeah, sustainable because it'll last forever, but is it actually good, right? I think, is it eye-catching? We have to ask that too. The answer for me is, of course, no.
Yeah, it's an eyesore. It's an eyesore, definitely.
It's an eyesore.
Yeah,
definitely an eyesore. Some people wonder too if they're actually hurting tourism these days.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not an inviting shoreline, Of course, Japan doesn't have a huge abundance of really inviting, beaches to, to beckon the tourists, to the beach so much. There are some.
That's true.
There are some, but not an overabundance of them. But those tetrapods are just, I mean, yeah, those are the most uninviting shoreline I can imagine. Really, they look like something alien and hard concrete alien, just totally unattractive.
They sure do. They're totally unattractive, and let's hope they stop those. Now, this leads me to my next question, Dan. The role of the concrete, or I should say the construction industry in Japan. And I think this has a lot to do with it, right? Of course, the concrete industry being linked perhaps to the government. I may be treading in kind of sticky water or hot water over here, but I think there's a connection, yeah? I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that there's so much money to be given for construction efforts that a lot of money had to be used, right, and still has to be used. And so one method to kind of use money was to create these tetrapods, right, for use all over Japan. And I think there's something to that. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's decreasing slightly, but ever so slowly. This, it's not, I mean, more so than in America or most other places. I think it's less what you know and more who you know. So these construction contracts and decisions are being made on whether it benefits the friends and family of the people making the decisions, right? So you've got these Todai people, they all went to
Tokyo University,
right? They all went to
yes, right.
they all went to Tokyo University together. We're in the same clubs or whatever, right? And then one of them goes into politics. One of them, inherits his father's, construction business or whatever. But because of their college relationship, then when a contract gets to be awarded, somebody gets the nod over somebody else, with an equivalent bid or whatever. So yeah, there's that.
Like we said, yeah, yesterday, nepotism is kind of alive and well.
Absolutely.
And it's due to that. That's right. Those old school connections. Sure. Exactly. One makes a phone call, and the next thing we know, people have construction contracts and whatnot. Sure, it happens all over. I'm not aware of it happening in, to the extent that it happens in many countries. Although in Japan, it's quite obvious.
Right. I mean, that could be a lot of factors, though. I mean, some information within Japan is very restrictive, but other information is, does circulate a little more freely than it does in some other countries. So, there's a question of, whether there's a difference in degree of this abuse of the system, or is it more of a difference in degree of the freedom of the press? That's a good question.
Right. Indeed. Sure, of course, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's true, and we never know who to trust on that one, do we?
Right.
The press will say one thing, and the reality is totally something else.
Yeah.
So as I was saying earlier, concrete is very evident all over Japan, and in Amakusa too. When I went to do research this past year, we would venture out into a lot of places around Amakusa, right? Around Shimoshima, the big island in Amakusa. We could see a lot of this kind of construction, this kind of utilizing tetrapods and concrete for various purposes. Not only tetrapods, there's walls being built, even on beaches. There's kind of like concrete slabs that try to act like a beach area, And I always wondered if that's good or not. Yeah. And as you said earlier, there's research that it's actually not good for the environment. I mean, when storms do come, there's nowhere for the water to go.
Yep.
Except up and into the land, right?
Yep.
Yes. And Japan is kind of a small country, so as you said earlier, there's not a lot of long beaches or really, really popular beaches, except in Okinawa, right? And I've been reading just briefly about this concrete usage in Okinawa, which has been expanding rapidly. JM has my friend down there in Okinawa, and if you're listening, I'll give a shout out to you, JM. Yeah, he's done a lot of research and actually some activism against this kind of construction, these kind of construction efforts in Okinawa, right? Some of the most pristine beaches that are quite world famous, are being covered with this kind of concrete now. Yeah, I think it's just crazy. Yeah,
it's putting money in somebody's pocket. That's the thing.
Well, it certainly is. That's it, and that's why it's done. Sure. Kind of getting back to to the Olympics full circle, right? And the Olympics, I think, is going on for that exact same reason. Yeah.
Just today or yesterday or today, I heard, there's renewed, voices against, the Olympics being held both within and out, from outside of Japan, so both sides now are kind of, coming to the realization that it just should not happen.
Wow. Yeah, I heard recently that the United States is kind of asking, citizens not to travel to Japan. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Which
I can see
think
that.
is so funny.
Can definitely see that.
So I mean, I can't remember what the numbers are. I mean, the numbers, I think in Japan, the daily numbers are still relatively low, right?
Sorry. Yeah, they're still relatively low, and I think, but it's getting higher, right? That's what they're worried about.
Well, I mean, it's coming back down climbs. Again. It's coming back down again. I mean, for a while it was, like it was over 6,000 new cases a day, right? Over 6,000 for like I don't know, for a week or something like that. It was over 6,000. For a month, it was over 4,000. But in America, that's America, they're coming down, way down, but still it's like 20,000.
Yeah, I know. It's like 25,000 a day still, right? But it's
which is 5 times the they only have less than 3 times the population of Japan, and yet they're even after they've come way down, they're still 5 times as many cases every day, and then they're worried about Japan. What is that?
Indeed, I know. What is that? What is that, right? And the numbers are coming down. I mean, in Kumamoto, it's quite low. I mean, it was up to over 100, and now it's down to 40 again.
Yeah.
So it's coming down, actually, right? Yes.
Yeah, the number. Let's see. The number for today is 51. I just checked. 51 today.
Oh, really? 51. Okay. Yeah. Yesterday it was like 40.
Yeah, but it was over 100, so a week ago, 10 days ago, it was 100 plus or minus just about every day for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks in a row,
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think if it has to go on, they should just try to do it and do it as safely as possible, and then, just get it done. I think. What do you think? I mean,
get what done?
Get the Olympics done.
Oh,
just do it. Yeah.
I mean, what I don't understand why the big pressure to do it this year. I mean, we already put it off for 1 year. Why not put it off for another year? Because things are going to be clearly and so much more under control next year. There's no reason to skip an Olympics, because we've gone just 2 years between Olympics before, when we made the adjustment between the summer and winter Olympics to have them offset. So we could have one in 22 and another one in 24, and it wouldn't be that bad, right?
Yeah, I read and heard that it's up to the IOC at this point.
Oh yeah.
The IOC is pretty much deciding, well, it has to go on, right? Canceling it is not an option, right? So I think it's more in their court now, from what I understand.
Well, I mean, then,
of course, Japan could say, well, let's just pull the plug and forget it. But I think.
Okay, so who's going to take responsibility for the huge influx in COVID cases that come up?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
right.
I don't think the IOC necessarily has the finances to cover that. I mean, Japan's not going to, if they're told to hold the Olympics. That hold the Olympics. Oh, we don't think we should. Well,
it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Scary thing. Who knows, right? Who knows? It's a very scary thing. And then if something does happen, it's just you can't even think about it, right?
Looking at Japan, we've had 2 big spikes here in Japan. One was at the year end, when everybody goes home and sees their family and friends at the New Year's holiday, and the second spike was at Golden Week, which is basically the equivalent of the Japanese Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody has at least 4 or 5 days off in a row. Some people have as much as 10 days off in a row. Everybody's traveling at that time, and we had a huge spike, right? So
Yeah.
that tells you that large numbers of people traveling around are going to cause another spike. And the Olympics being held is a bunch of people traveling around. So you know that there's going to be another spike. It's just, it's just
I think
obvious.
it's inevitable. Yes, right.
Exactly.
It's inevitable, right? Just like right after the Golden Week, of course, right?
Yep.
People get together and it just happens, doesn't it?
Yep.
I
And
hope, yeah, maybe they will cancel it. I don't know.
well, I mean, if they don't, they're making a mistake. But
yeah, it could be disastrous.
well, I mean, if they don't cancel, if they do hold the Olympics, it's going to be, there's not going to be a location, an audience on location, right? It's going to be
Right.
all televised, right? Which
Yep.
means that the people who are really looking forward to it, the people that are in the tourist industry, the hotels and restaurants and so on, in the nearby vicinity of the venues, they're going to get nothing out of it, or maybe only 1%, of what they were expecting if they had the regular crowds. So they're not going to be happy if they have it. They're not going to be gaining anything, or not enough, not much.
Yeah, that's entirely true. It's
So
all
so
going to be on television.
who's it going to benefit?
But I think they have to, they want to make sure that they can use the places they put all the money into, right, in Tokyo, right, all the venues and whatnot. I mean, at least for the athletes.
Okay, so they use them,
because
but
they put so much money into it. Yeah,
but
I guess
I don't know. How does it work, Jeff? Do
Well, I think
all these teams pay rent for using the stadiums?
I think there's something paid. Yes, indeed, right. And I think
I thought it was all through tourism and television contracts. I thought that's how they got their money back. I
I'm
mean,
not sure if that's
and
all of it.
tickets to the venues, but the
Sure.
athletes, I don't think pay. Right? It's
the athletes themselves don't. I think the country does, though.
No. I think it's the audience, the spectators.
Well, sure, that's
tickets, right?
That's a huge amount of it, sure.
And so that's going to be zero, right? That's going to be zero. Whether they have it
I'm
or
not
not,
fully aware,
so
so I can't comment on that. I'm not fully aware of that, right, of how that works. But yeah, that is going to be zero, exactly, right.
So therefore, there's really no loss if you cancel it. To that extent, there's going to be no more or less tickets sold whether you cancel it or not.
I think partially they want to use it because they put so much money into it just to use it, possibly, right?
Yeah.
After the Olympics, always anyway.
I got a phone call.
You have a phone? Okay, right. Yeah, after the Olympics, I mean, what do they do with venues anyway, right? In ordinary times, right?
Yeah, no.
They have to use
I was just going to say
the venues anyway.
Feel bad about
Dan, can you mute your microphone? Okay, there he goes. Right. I think what do they do after the Olympics anyway, right? The venues have to be utilized in some way after the Olympics, right? I know they're used in many different ways. But yes, of course, it can definitely hurt society if they do hold the Olympics. It can really hurt tourism, right? Of course, tourism is non-existent here in Japan as it is in most of the world. And they're not even asking Japanese citizens or residents of Japan, of course, to go see the Olympics. They know they can't do that either. So yeah, it's a pretty harsh predicament. Who knows what's going to happen in the long run? Yeah, possibly they should cancel it. Possibly, right? They're going to hold it anyway, and it could lead to detrimental effects. Let's hope not. Yeah, let's hope not. Yeah, I mean, gosh. What can be done, right? I mean, if there's a spread of COVID, right? Gosh, we're hardly given vaccines over here. Vaccinations are very slow in coming, very few and far between. I think 1% of the population here is vaccinated, and I haven't heard anything about getting it myself. Yeah, and ours in our age group, right? Could be down the line in June, July, who knows, right? I know they're starting with 70 and older. I believe it's this week, or last week it started a bit, and this week it's getting under control, getting going on 70 plus age in that generation, right? So they're really, slow in coming. They are coming. It's getting very slow. Apparently now, from what I understand, there's the Johnson and Johnson vaccine is going to be coming into play here pretty soon. So, yeah. So, speaking about copious amounts of concrete being used for the Olympic venues, right? Sure, there we go. That's kind of case in point. The amount of money spent on getting Tokyo ready to hold these Olympics, and it's been delayed a year, and second year going, and too bad for Japan. Actually, I know Japan was really looking forward to it, and it was going to be good for Japan, right? Sure, gosh, it would have been great for tourism influx, right? For the economy of Japan. All in all, in a normal year, it would have been great. Well, gosh, we may see it not happening altogether. Yes. Time will tell on that. I know they're discussing it now. People are kind of, putting their foot down, right? It's the pedal to the metal. Yeah, of course, America saying, don't come to Japan. To its citizens, of course, I guess most European countries can't come to Japan, right? I think Japan wouldn't let a lot of people in anyway, right? So it's kind of difficult. So we'll see where it happens and what transpires here in the next few weeks. Yeah, I mean, and interestingly, yeah, talking about the amounts of money spent for creating these venues. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be able to decide. This is the hard point, right? Deciding or not. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, right. Yeah. And
there you are.
Come and be. Oh, there you are, Dan. Okay, you're back. Okay, good.
I'm back.
Yeah, I'm just going over just the connection with the copious amounts of concrete being used, and that connection with building getting ready for the Olympics, right? Building all the venues and whatnot for the Olympics. Yeah. It's just crazy, isn't it? I think because so much money was spent on that. And it's really too bad for Japan. I know Japan was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And it could have been great for Japan.
I mean, Japan is not necessarily, the top spot, that people think about in tourism, but tourism is extremely important to Japan. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it would have boosted Japan tremendously as far as tourism and influx, right?
Yeah.
Inbound tourists. Yeah.
Well, I think that Japan has been suffering. I mean, it's been, how long ago was it? I mean, the Kansai earthquake, right? And then the Fukushima earthquake, right? The tidal wave that hit there. I mean, it's slowed down, tourism in, in some areas more than others, of course. I mean, here in Kumamoto, I mean, we also suffered 5 years ago. Now it's been, our earthquake, and that, drastically reduced the number of tourists. I mean, we used to get a lot more Chinese and Korean tourists than we've had the last couple of years. They're starting to come back now. They were just starting to come back when COVID hit, right?
Right, exactly. Just starting to come back. Yeah, and although the Kumamoto earthquakes, they weren't that well known around the world, they were still pretty heavy, and they affected tourism here in Kyushu.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is.
I mean, the castle was severely damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and you used to be able to go inside the castle, and now you can't even do that.
Right.
You can go around the grounds, and outside of it, but not in it quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the cherry blossom viewing is still wonderful. That hasn't diminished at all. The
Absolutely.
cherry trees are still beautiful, but yeah, but the castle itself, the castle ground itself, the surrounding walls and so on that were damaged, they're making good progress, but it's a pain because Jeff, that each one of those rocks, each one of those stones is like numbered and has its own specific place in the wall that it has to be. It's not like they can just put it up there any way they want to.
No, right.
So
exactly.
It's quite a process.
It was quite a process. It was so intricately, manipulated to fit in there.
Yes.
And that was like 400 years ago.
Right.
Right. So yeah, so it's got to be put in the same place. Yeah, you just can't put it up any old where, right? Yeah, it's got to be put together exactly as it was, right? Which is, it's a painstaking process. I mean, I was happy when they got the castle going as fast as they did. Because right after the earthquake, there was like one spindle kind of holding the whole edge, the corner of the castle up. Remember that?
Yeah. I
was like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they went at it and fixed it up pretty well.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been
that. Yeah,
I was just going to say, but it wouldn't have taken too much more for it to, for that to have fallen, and then I mean, then there would have been, even it was already major damage, but it would have been, so much worse with, just a little bit more. Yeah,
totally, it would have been all over.
No.
Yeah, and I was going to say they went at it with those construction bucks. Yeah, those construction yen.
Yep. Well,
they got paid every now and yen, every then and yen.
Yeah, absolutely.
to go for. They really did a good job, for now. So,
but I mean, so many other things. I mean, we were talking about also before, in my university, which lost its campus. Actually, arguably, its better campus. The one, halfway up, Mount Osso was a beautiful location. Attracted students from all over Japan, not in a small part because of the beautiful location, and they're not going to get that back.
Right. Yes, I was shocked to hear that they couldn't build it back, and the reason is because the ground is unstable up there, right?
That's right. It's just the number of faults that run through that area is just so great, and it continues to be unstable. It's not reasonable to rebuild there. It's just
not even with concrete. They just couldn't do it. Yeah.
No,
it's just impossible. Yeah,
that's right.
Now, Dan, you and I shared an office up there for 3 years.
That's right.
And it was just beautiful.
Oh,
yes. It was a beautiful campus. It was a joy to go to, every day. What was it? 2 days a week we were there?
Yep. 2 days a week, every week.
Just a joy to go up there every week, right?
Yeah.
Twice a week.
Yeah, you were there for 3 years. I had an office up there for 15 years,
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew it a lot better than I did.
Yeah. And even when I didn't have an office up there, I still was traveling up there twice a week. For 30 years I've traveled, for 30 years I traveled there twice a week. Yeah.
Oh, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it all came to an abrupt ending.
That's right. I mean, it cut down on, the good thing for me is I don't use near as much gasoline as I used to, because I don't have to drive halfway up Osso Mountain twice a week anymore. But I mean, it's, it was worth it, by more than worth it, to be surrounded by the beautiful scenery, twice a week when on the drive up there, and from the office, the view from the office was beautiful. Yeah, I really
totally, and it's just it's not far from this hill you're seeing on the picture on the right here.
Right. Yeah.
Not far from that. Right.
Yep.
So this is what we would see every time going up there.
Yeah.
We crossed a different bridge, of course.
Yep.
Right, but same area, same general area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when I would go up there to also using a parallel bridge down to the left of that. Right, there was a shorter parallel bridge. And I watched this bridge being built. It was fascinating, and I should have put some slides up now about that. I didn't even think of it, but because of the concrete talk. But it was fascinating. They built the columns first, Yeah, and then they came out from the edges, from the ends, yeah,
Huh.
from the end of the bridge, and then they built a structure on top of the column, and they built outwardly.
Hmm.
It was just fascinating to watch, and I didn't know that that's how they built bridges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just too high to, hoist anything up with a crane.
Right.
To try to put construction, material up there, to try to put scaffolding, of course, is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they built these little pods at the top of the column and built outwardly.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a series of pictures about that, right? And then eventually it all connected, in the center of the two columns, right, where the roadbed is. Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating to watch.
Bridge building is a fascinating, part of engineering. I mean, it's bridge building in itself is quite the engineering feat.
It is. It
Yeah,
totally is. Yeah,
yeah.
totally is. Yeah, I was just amazed. This next picture I put up is looking under the new Also Ohashi, right? You
Hmm.
can walk under it, actually. You see that? All of
Cool.
that in front of the picture, in front of the camera, is all concrete going
Hmm.
over the hill and down to the waterbed, down to the
Wow.
river at the bottom of the gorge. Is all concrete, the whole wall.
Hmm.
I'd need to get some pictures from the other side, because the other side, near that mound, yes, over on the top right picture,
Mm-hmm.
there's a road that goes along that. That's Route 57, the main route in Kumamoto that goes to Oita. You can take pictures from that direction also. So I'd like to do that eventually. Take
Yeah.
pictures from the
Yeah.
opposite direction, because you can see that whole wall. Yeah, this massive concrete. Do you think that eventually vegetation will grow on that?
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
I would guess probably not. Which is I don't even want to say that. It's kind of depressing. Yeah.
it is. It's depressing, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they hope, or maybe they made it in such a way that vegetation and grass will grow on there.
Mm.
I'm not exactly sure of the construction techniques, but as you said, in Niigata, they mixed it with grass seed and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Did they
Yeah.
do that on the side of a cliff like this,
They
or
did that
side
on
of
the
a
side,
hill?
not on concrete though, on
Oh,
rocks and earth. That like when they cut through a section, and then the exposed rocks and earth, they were those were covered with initially they were covered with like a tar papers, but then that was removed, and then they put like this chicken wire and sprayed it. Like I said, it looked like a kind of a paper mache type of thing that went onto the chicken wire, and had the grass seed in it. And after just 2 or 3 weeks, it was the grass was sprouting quite noticeably.
oh
So
wow, okay.
yeah. I was only there for a few months after that, and it was growing up nice. But I'm very curious, 30 years later, just what that might look like now. I really don't know.
Yeah,
Mm.
that'd be interesting to go check it out.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, another thing I've seen, I guess, around also are these kind of box-like structures, these box-like support walls
Uh huh.
along the side of a mountain and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
they're curved to kind of mimic the curvature of the earth and the soil.
Right.
And it looks like inside those there's vegetation growing.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think along the side of Route 57 there are a couple of those.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. They
maybe
tried.
that's what they're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, besides the impact, like we talked about, the way that covering surfaces, natural surfaces with concrete, increases changes the runoff pattern, the water runoff and so on. But above
Hmm.
that, the manufacturer, producing concrete, releases huge amounts of I think of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases.
Right, that's right. Yes, yes, I did hear that. Right, indeed, indeed. Another negative thing, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, great. Oh my gosh, yeah. I think all in all, I think they probably could have gotten away without using so much concrete here.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, I think they could have actually, right? Did they need to use that much concrete? Especially if this whole wall is just massive concrete,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I think they overdid it. There, I just shared a quote that I found. After water, concrete is the most widely used substance on Earth. After water, concrete is the most widely used substance on Earth. If the cement
look at that.
industry, if the cement industry were a country, it would be the third largest carbon dioxide emitter in the world.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for that quote. That's look at that statistic. That's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
2.8 billion tons. Yeah.
Yep.
Surpassed only by China and the U.S. Wow. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, and Japan is definitely doing more than their fair share.
They certainly are. We've got 4 pictures up here that tell the story, right?
Yeah. But
of course, people will say you can't stand in the way of progress. But I think alternatives have to be found.
Yeah.
Especially with that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Concrete is the most widely used substance on Earth after water.
Yep. Yeah. That's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah.
That is. I mean, I don't want to venture and say what can be used in place of it to build a bridge like that. I'm not a construction expert.
Right.
Right. But I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it's, there's a lot of factors to consider, safety, and availability of materials and costs and the feasibility of the construction. Do you have the equipment to use I mean, as we just saw, the second most used substance on Earth, that means we have the infrastructure in place to utilize concrete in construction, to simply replace it with something else. Probably the infrastructure that we have for concrete is not going to be able to just switch over, as such, to use this other substance. And so, we're talking about huge infrastructure changes, right?
Huge infrastructure changes, yeah. But how long has it been going on, right? The construction industry using concrete?
Quite a while.
Decades, right?
Yes.
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah.
Decades upon decades. So, hopefully they would have started to think on, how to change that during those decades. Yeah.
I doubt it. It's one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, until recently, they didn't think that it was broke, right?
Right. And now it is breaking, though,
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have to try to figure out different ways. I mean, maybe they will, right? Maybe someone's working on it.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. A different topic, but talking about Japan and the environment, I read somewhere just recently that Japan, we do a lot of things with our garbage. We separate, the burnable from unburnable garbage, and even the unburnable. There's bottles and cans as opposed to plastics, as opposed to this, that, and the other thing. Batteries are separate. And light bulbs and so on are done separately, and so on.
Glass and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. But among the burnable garbage, I mean, that is burned in incinerators, right? I read a statistic not long ago that said that they estimated that 70% of the world's incinerators are in Japan.
Is that right?
That's the number that I heard just recently. Yeah, 70% of the world's incinerators.
Wow, that seems like a huge amount, doesn't it? But
I mean, yeah, but they're, that's the thing about Japanese culture that we both know. I mean, wrapping is everything, right? I mean, the gift can be a piece of crap, but if it's wrapped up nice enough, that's okay, right?
Yeah, right. That's a huge part of it, isn't it? Right?
It is.
Giving souvenirs, right? It has to be wrapped well.
Yep.
Yeah, and how about, like, disposable chopsticks and disposable bento boxes and whatnot.
Yeah. they're just
Yeah, all of
now
those things are
starting,
burned.
like in the last 2 years, they've started, so like the Reggie Bucaro, the shopping bags at the checkout counter, now you
Yes,
have to
right.
pay for those and so on, encouraging people to use the reusable shopping bags and so on. But that has
Sure,
just
I
started a
take
couple
my
years ago.
own.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just started a couple years ago. I know,
Yep.
right? Yeah. I know in the United States they've been giving paper for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Those paper shopping sacks, yeah,
Right.
shopping bags. Sometimes which kind of I couldn't understand. They would put the paper one inside a plastic one, right?
Yeah.
In my hometown, yeah. I'm like, what? What do you? No, no, we don't need that. Okay, just the paper would be good.
Yeah.
It's easily recyclable anyway, right? And yeah, now they're charging, and I'm not going to pay. I mean, I'll take my own, sure, absolutely,
Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely, yeah. It's
Ah.
just better for the environment. Yeah, I first started getting interested in the environment when I was a kid. My parents had a summer home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a cottage. It was on a golf course that belonged to this summer home country club, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
had to belong to the country club, but you could have a cottage and you could play golf, and they had a swimming pool, and they had a clubhouse you could go eat in and whatnot, and you could use the swimming pool and tennis courts and stuff, and they had lovely nature trails. We would go on
Oh.
nature walks and things like that, and I really started to love the environment. Although down one nature trail, there was a dump. Right, there was a dump where people, I guess, who owned cottages would throw their stuff.
Huh.
Right, it was kind of off the beaten path, off that main trail, up in the woods a little bit. But yeah, there was a dump that was used by people who had cottages, and also the clubhouse, I guess, to just dump things randomly. And I came across this dump, and I was utterly shocked. And I went back and I asked my mom, right, and my mom and dad. I said, wow, there's this. Did you know about this dump there? And they knew about it, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can anyone go dump things there? This was in the late 70s, right? So times were different, of course. But they said, yeah, that's our dump. Anyone can go dump things there, right? Oh wow, can I go dump things there? And I said, you can, but and my parents were kind of into the environment too, and please don't. And I said, yeah, this is just, it's disgusting.
Right. Right.
No way do I want to dump things there. And I was shocked, and I eventually watched it get larger and larger. Of course, by the mid 80s, it was well known, right, about the problems these things caused, and the dump was closed down, and things were taken care of in a much better fashion. But as a kid, to come across that in the woods, right, on a nature walk, that was pretty shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what kind of got me interested in the environment, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. These places, they develop. I mean, I lived in a rural area, but still there were known dumping areas. I don't even know whose land it was actually. Whether it was like public lands, that just weren't under development of or anything. But yeah, there were a couple of areas around my little town that a couple of places known as known dumps. People take like old washing machines or stereos or whatever, and dump them out there.
Right on, exactly. Things like that. Yeah. And now it's much better organized. Yes.
Well, I mean, it's better. I mean, the way they treat the garbage is better, but then we have so much more garbage because we've become such a disposable society. I mean, everything is made to last. Just long enough to until they come out with the new improved version. And then, whatever one that you had, no matter how nice it was, is now outdated and time to replace, right?
Throw it away. Yeah.
That's right.
I know. Shamefully so. Yeah. Right.
But I tell
you, it's a good thing it's hard. it's hard to throw away televisions and computers these days. Yeah.
Well, I just traded in some old iPads. I had a couple of old iPads that when I bought them, I bought like the base model, and it had not very much storage, the minimum storage and so on, and they were getting a few years old. I traded them in to Apple, and I got a decent amount of money for the trade in, much more than I thought that I would have. So and they will be refurbished and can be resold, to somebody who wants a cheaper iPad or whatever.
Well, that's good to know. Did you do that at the Apple Store, or how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, if you the Apple website down at the bottom, they've got a whole bunch of links and so on, and among those links is Apple Trade-In. You can go to the Apple Trade-In website and go through the process. It's very easy. You apply, you give them your name and address, and what the item is that you want to trade in, all the details about it and so on, and then they send you a box full, a cardboard box that has bubble wrap in it and so on, and a little bit of paperwork for you to fill out. You fill out the paperwork, wrap the computer item in the bubble wrap, and then call up the Takubin again and say take it away, and they take it away, and
wow,
about 3 or 4 days later you get an email that says you got a gift certificate worth so and so much money at the Apple Store now.
That's awesome. I got to try that. Yeah,
Yep.
I have an iPad that's kind of really old.
Yep.
That one I got at Tokai, actually.
If it's too old,
in 2012. Yeah, it might be too old, huh?
So like I wanted to trade in. I had a real old one, an iPad Air 2, right?
Okay. Yes.
The second generation of iPad Airs, right? I can't remember what year it was, but it was too old to even be traded in. They wouldn't give me anything for it.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's probably my case, I'm sure, right? And I have a couple old Macs from 2008. The square ones. I don't know if you even remember the square ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Desktop square ones, right? From 2008 that are, they still work, but they're just,
square.
They're very slow. Yeah.
The colorful ones? The iMacs?
No. They're iMacs, I believe, but they're 2009. The ones I got were used for the computer lab here at my university.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't really recall seeing those being sold on a wide basis. So maybe those are specialty items.
If they were like 2009, from 2009 to 2014, iMacs can be used as external monitors.
Oh, wow.
So if the display is in good condition, you can use it as an external monitor.
Maybe that's what I'll do.
That feature is built into all the iMacs from 2009 to 2014. But after 2014, they stopped doing that. So the brand new iMacs, the brand new iMacs don't support that feature anymore.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is a good way to use it.
Yeah, because I've got an iMac. It's not that old. It's like from 2016, I think. And so it's old, getting so old that it's a little long in the tooth, getting a little slow, but it's not old enough that I can use it as a display. So unfortunately, it's.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Mine, I have one that's 21.5 inch from 2014. It's getting a little slow too.
That one,
I still use it, but it's a little long in the tooth.
I think 2014 is you can still use it as a monitor.
Wow, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, definitely from 2009 to 2012 or 13. 2013, 2014. I can't remember. I think that's like on the borderline. So if it's early 2014, you're probably okay.
Okay, good. Maybe I'll check that out. Yeah. Sounds good, Dan. Yeah, really great. Good conversation today.
Yeah.
It's been about an hour, so let's start to finish up here, shall we?
Yep.
Yeah, great, good.
Yep.
We did a lot about talking about the concrete industry in Japan and utilizing a lot of concrete here and the negative effects on the environment. Let's hope we find a different construction material here in the future. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it would really just benefit the whole world greatly.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what.
something.
Yeah. What the world needs now is
No more concrete.
yeah, less concrete. Yeah, absolutely, less
Less
concrete.
concrete.
Yeah,
What the world needs now is, what is it? Love, sweet love, isn't
love,
that
sweet love. That's right. Yeah,
it?
yeah. Sing it for us, Jeff.
What the world needs now. Yeah, I got to get my guitar on Haps one of these days.
Absolutely.
I'm practicing a bit, so
Yeah, cool, cool.
just to put it out there so
Yeah,
everyone can hear. Yeah,
yeah. You definitely
practicing
ought
a
to.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Got to get the voice going.
yep.
Because I watch a couple people on Haps who, one guy I watch, I won't say his name. I guess I could, but he doesn't sing.
Mm.
He just plays instrumental music, and he says that that's a bit of a detriment
Oh, okay.
to his
Yeah.
music. So.
I've seen a couple of people. One guy plays the piano. He never sings. You know, he plays the piano. He talks between songs and so on, but he doesn't sing. And another one who's a guitarist, quite a
Yeah.
good guitarist, I think. Of course, what do I know? I don't know, but you know, he seems really good to me, and he doesn't sing either.
Okay, maybe it's the same one.
Okay, yeah.
Does he stand when he sings?
When he plays, yeah.
When he plays, sorry. When he
Yep.
plays, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, let's see. I'll get something together and we'll try it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you, Dan. Yep. Excellent. Let's end it here, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.